Hey, I really wasn't expecting to make this video. I just didn't know I'd need to, But when a MonsterArts figure kind of goes on sale, you grab it, right? Like, I didn't think I'd be doing any more MonsterArts unboxings after my King Kong vs. Godzilla 1962 unboxing, which was over a year ago. I just didn't think I'd have the money to afford any MonsterArts figures, but when an exclusive limited edition SH MonsterArts figure goes on sale and it's actually fairly cheap, you grab it. Well, you can. So that's what I did. Sorry, you thought I was gonna whip out a ukulele? I don't own one, but things can change. Just cancel me on Twitter or something and I'll buy one. What's up, everybody? D-Man back. Welcome to a brand new video, and today we're going to be doing my review for the SH MonsterArts Godzilla vs. Kong, Kong from Godzilla vs. Kong 2021 exclusive edition. I've also heard this one referred to as the Victory Edition, and I believe it has been referred to as the SDCC 2022 edition. That's right, this is SH MonsterArts' re-release of Kong from Godzilla vs. Kong, although he's been revamped for the new age. I believe they've done some minor sculpt changes and they've given him a lot more accessories. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Starting out, as always, we'll talk about the box art. Actually, this is one of my least favorite MonsterArts box arts that they've done in a while. I thought the original releases for Godzilla vs. Kong were just a lot prettier. While I do appreciate the artwork on this box, like it's a cool rendering of their Kong and their Mechagodzilla head, which is one of the significant accessories he comes with, it just doesn't look as cool or as neat as those Godzilla vs. Kong ones did, but it is still a pretty good box art. Let's give it some credit. It's a pretty good box art. I like the splash and colors. Very vibrant, very stylized. I really appreciate that. I always like when they've got the logos down here. I always think it's cool to see the golden Godzilla logo. That's of course the King Goji from 1962. Then you've got like the event exclusive thing. You've got the Tamashii Nations and then the Bandai stuff. The side's just telling you it's Kong from Godzilla vs. Kong, shows the MonsterVerse logo. This side tells you the same information, except it's got that loading screen photo of Kong standing there all brooding like they did have on the other one. The bottom of the box has just legal information, but it also has this really cool rendering of Kong standing there. I mean, that's an awesome picture right there. That looks great. And then, of course, the nice back of the box. We always love the backs of the box. Oh, I'll also mention, they put the stupid window on top again, as if we really wanted to peer in and see nothing in there. You can't really see through the window. It's not like you can really see Kong through it. It's stupid. Stupid that they do that. It's very ugly. But the back of the box has some good stuff. We've got a picture of Kong holding that Mechagodzilla head, Kong with his axe that's all supercharged up now, and then a bunch of HEAVs, which is great. I love that they added those. And then you've got the window in looking at Kong, and you can already see he's got a different face, and there's a little bit of different stuff going on inside. Let's get this bad boy out. I forget. Ooh, I forget the MonsterArts smell. It's all coming back to me. I forget that these things have like a vibrant smell to them. All right, so hidden within there, they've got a set of instructions for this guy. Just showing off all of his new accessories, how to swap them out, and all that good stuff. Also, in the back of the box, his background is this event exclusive thing, just showing that it is a limited edition. Now, I do think that they cheapened this figure because if I'm not mistaken, and you guys know more than me always, so correct me down below, I'm pretty sure they did a re-release of this guy. I'm fairly confident that after the SDCC convention that they did a re-release online for him, which is probably why I got him for so cheap. Here's how it comes. We've got a bunch of different hands. We've got the HEAVs. We've got the HEAV stand, the axe, the explosive, supercharged, the multiple Kong heads, and then another row of hands. And then you've got Kong himself sitting in his little box. All right, well, I'm ready to get them out. That's stressful getting this guy out. So many accessories. I had to be real careful. Okay, starting out, we've got this little stand. It's got 3 wires on it, and they're like great. You can do whatever you want with them. I've seen these in the pictures, the promo pictures. You can pose these guys however you want them to. They will hold whatever pose. They're just wires, so they'll hold whatever pose you want. That way, you can get your HEAVs in flying position, and they can sit however they want. These are crazy tiny. Oh my god, they're so small. So there are 3 of them. They are all identical in sculpt, and they're tiny so that they can scale with the MonsterArts figures. They do plug really nicely and easily in, and let's see, let's try not to lose them, but seems like they hold on to their wires really well. And yeah, like I said, it's a pretty transparent wire. They've done the best they can. This is a lot better than some of the other stuff they have. Like, you see my MonsterArts shelf back there, like the Super X3, and I might get scolded by some Godzilla fans, but some of those flying planes that they have in the Heisei era, I don't know what they're called. The stand for those guys is very aggressive. So this is a really nice and much more practical and exciting solution to that. This is great. Now the size of this guy is like unfathomably small. Okay, you see this guy? I can't even really show off details very well, but he's got the 2 hatches on either side. They've got the big thrusters that look great. The front is generally pretty well detailed. You can see like the window. You can actually see a cluster of windows up front. It's not done as one window. The thrusters do look pretty good. They've got like minuscule little details in them, even down to having multiple ridges on them. Those hatch doors do look great. The biggest downside is going to be the bottom of it. I don't know why you'd need to look at the bottom of this guy, considering you're just going to have it floating on a stand, but it's got that giant peg hole in it so that it can sit on the stand and float. That's, I think, completely acceptable. Now, it isn't painted very impressively at all. It's completely matte gray. It doesn't have any sort of paint job. I honestly don't know how you could paint something this tiny. I'm sure that there are collectors out there who use micro brushes and people who know how to paint something this tiny, but I do completely understand why SH MonsterArts would print this thing as a solid gray and leave it. It is a teeny tiny accessory. It is smaller than the tanks and it is smaller than their planes, and so it makes sense to me that you would leave it as this tiny thing and not put too much effort into it because it doesn't need it. Now, by comparison, just look at how much larger the HEAV from Playmates is. This HEAV should have more detailing. It actually does. The sculpt on this guy does, I would say, have more detailing when it comes to the hatch doors and the thrusters, but actually less detailing on the front and less accuracy in terms of the design. Like the windows and stuff look better on this tiny one. I think this comes down to like, this one's gonna be easier to play with. This is gonna get lost. This is also like a rubbery thing that you can bend up and it's fine. And for some reason also hollow on the bottom, although that doesn't serve a function on this guy. Yeah, this guy's getting lost easily, but I think it's ultimately just like a preference choice. I think these are better just because they scale better, but if you want the one with a little more detailing that looks a little better, then actually Playmates is the way to go. If you're, I don't know, if somehow you come across the option of buying one or the other HEAV, like so let's just say some psychopath out there only sold their HEAVs, well, now you can make up your own mind on which one you want. I dropped my HEAVs. Ah! They're falling apart! And there they all are, ready together, ready for a war about to come strike at any moment. Remember the sound that the HEAVs make? Classic HEAV. Oh! Watch out. Some of the thrusters actually did fall off the HEAVs. I thought something fell off. How did that even happen? Well, I gotta be very careful. I found one. Gotta find the other somehow. I don't know where it would have went. Now the search and rescue begins. There's a teeny bug living inside of the lens on my camera. This review went so south so fast. Looking for a piece literally this tiny, lost somewhere on a carpet where it blends in and where when you run your hand over it, you can't even feel it. All right, I'll be back. All right, well, I'm taking the L on that one. That thing's gone. I don't know where it is. I just combed the area. I looked everywhere. I don't know where it went. It's gone. Like, look, I respect it, MonsterArts. Basically, and to use the Playmates one as an example because it's bigger, they're thrusters. You can rotate them 360, so you can pose them like they're firing back like they fly in the movies, because this is kind of the landing position. So you can kind of have them angled differently, but yeah, mine in the back here, it's gone. That piece is gone. I appreciate that they gave it 4 points of articulation per HEAV, but that thing's gone. Kong himself comes with 4.5 different hand variations. He comes with the closed palmed fist, this semi-open holding hand. Now this is the kind of hand that you would put an axe in. This more grasping hand, this is a really cool one with a really cool finger pose. Like you can see the way that the fingers are bent there. It's just quite a neat pose for a hand. I really like it. And this one does a pretty good job of exemplifying what I love about these Kong hands, and that's really just the great details in them. The way the fur runs into the fingers, the way that the fingers have skin patterns, the knuckles have texture, there's fingernails. On the palm of the hand, there is a legit palm to the hand. There's actual details and crevices and creases within it. It's really wonderful. MonsterArts does great with the Kong accessories and the Kong hands. Then you've got this more open palmed grip. Now this is going to be the hand that holds things like Mechagodzilla's head. This is going to be the hand that would be able to hold Mechagodzilla's head. Then there's one last variation. Now I only have one of these. I believe that there only comes one. Although interestingly, the instructions show the opposite hand. This hand with this kind of pointer finger out, it's got a bit of an interesting grip, almost like he's grabbing something with just his two fingers. This hand is meant to hold a heave so that he can do the thing that he does at the end of the Godzilla vs. Kong movie when he smashes a heave in his hand. After looking at the instructions, they clearly tell you that the heaves have articulated thrusters, and it tells you to do not misplace. No kidding. Well, I should have probably looked at that first. That's really frustrating that I lost one like immediately. I don't know how I lost it even. It just disappeared. I didn't do anything to even cause that thing to fall off in the first place. That's really sad. If they knew it was going to be such an issue that they had to put it on the instructions and stuff, then they should have had a bag of duplicates. There should have been like a bag of like 2 or 3 extra thrusters per heave. That would have been a really nice thing to add, SH MonsterArts. I don't think I'm going to be displaying my Kong with the heave in hand. I'm going to have the heaves on their stand. But I will probably give him Mechagodzilla's head. Kong himself comes with 3 alternate heads. This is the exclusive head for this figure, and it looks great. I mean, it's got great eye bags, it's got great detailing. Much like with the others, you can see the pupils in the eyes. They're just very dark, so it's hard to see them. The teeth look great. They're kind of blocky, so it's not necessarily individually sculpted, but they do have their own sculpts within this big block, kind of within the gum. He's got a great expression, a really angry expression that I really love. I love the fur all over. It's just such a good head. Nice ears too. That's the new one that came with this figure. The other 2 classic heads are also very well done here. You've got the normal looking head that's now covered in scar patterning. He's got bruises and gashes all over his face. His eyes are also more well defined here than they were in the original release. You've got the roaring head, which is the one that I have my normal release displayed with. You cannot see the new scars and scratches as well on this, but it's just a very well done head. Individually sculpted teeth, they look great. Articulated tongue, which is very fun. And it's the head I have had on my SH MonsterArts Kong for a long time, and what I actually think I'm gonna try and do is mix and match the heads. I'm gonna give the current Kong the roaring head, and then I'm gonna put on the older Kong this angrier face, which also does not have the scars and cuts all over this normal head. I don't know why they only gave those to the normal one. That would have been really cool if they gave it to the others as well, just so you can really see what I'm talking about. You can see that there's like above the eyebrow some cuts and scrapes above the mouth as well. It's just really small, subtle detailing. It's very hard to see, but it is there. Kong also again comes with the axe, and it is not the same as the original release. The original release features a much darker bone handle. This one is a little lighter, and it also has just way better highlights all throughout it. This one they've actually painted highlights into it. The white tip on the bottom of this is a little more vibrant than the white tip on the bottom of this one, and it goes up a little higher than on this one. This one's going for a bit more of a movie accurate paint job in terms of the handle for the sculpt. Now, it would have been cool if they worked those red glowing highlights in here, but I get that that would have been a hard thing to do. The tip of the axe is just barely different. This one's just a little sharper, but it still doesn't feature the cracked top that the axe in the movie has. Where it's obviously different is the blades themselves. This blade is, yes, glowing blue. It's got the blue inside of it, but it's still got these silver highlights running through it because it's not charged up yet. This one is no longer just residually charged. This one is atomic charged, so it's now much more vibrantly white blue with dark blue streaks on the ends there to give it some definition. One thing that this axe actually does better is the scale patterning, and the hide on the original release is much more well defined and sculpted than on the re-release. I believe that's because the re-release was made to be a bit smoother so that you could slide the other accessory on top of it. That other accessory, of course, being the Supercharged Atomic Breath Burst effect, which is very electric-y. This is almost like Ghidorah's gravity beams, but basically this is to represent the axe is supercharged, it's in full force now, it's going sicko mode, you could say. This is done with a translucent blue plastic that gives a very nice crackling effect and will look great when you put it on. You slide it on. It's kind of hollowed out in between these two pieces. They sandwich together onto the axe. Let's see how you do that. Well, it's a good thing I read the instructions so I didn't try and force things together. It seems that these two pieces come apart and then you put the axe together inside of it, which seems safer. All right, so you got to kind of finesse them in two. They feel very delicate and very fragile, but you kind of finesse them and then they come apart. You can see that it's not the same on either side. It's different on both sides to give it more dimension. This side's a little more shaped like the axe itself, while this side's a little more like a burst of energy. Okay, yes, it seems it absolutely matters which direction you put these pieces on together. It's actually a very stupid process putting these pieces together. It doesn't go nicely or neatly, but once it's together, it looks something like this with the axe blade sticking out this direction, and this, I believe, is now supposed to be taking on the appearance of you're swinging down so the energy is flying backwards. So it's supposed to have like a kind of windy effect where it's being affected by the direction he's swinging the axe. That's, I believe, the intention behind this. I think it's a really cool idea. I just think it could have been executed a little better if this piece was actually a little cheaper made. If it was larger and it fit on like a sleeve over the top of the axe, I actually think it would be a little bit more of a simple process than what we got here, which is kind of a ridiculous thing to put together. But there's what you can see the original axe looks like. That'll kind of give you an indication of what it looks like inside the axe. It'll look something like this, but there's the two axes together. Ooh, maybe you give the Kong dual wielding axes. That'd be cool. But this is how they're gonna fit together. Now for the last and greatest accessory, Mechagodzilla's severed head, just like at the ending of Godzilla vs. Kong. Now this piece is absolutely incredible. It looks gorgeous. It is so pretty. It's really nicely painted. It's a beautiful silver. Moving into it, you've got the wonderful red eyes. You've also got the really nicely detailed inside of the mouth with that red cylinder that fires the laser. The blades all on the bottom and top of the mouth. That looks great. There's so many wonderful little intricate details here. So many great cybernetic details on the top of the head, on the side of the head, into the nose. So many incredible little touches that they've added here, and into the back. This is where it doesn't look as great, as you can see the base plug-in for where the spine plugs into the head, but that's okay because you're never going to really be displaying that angle. And then the spine itself looks very well detailed with these nice cylinder patterns running down into these wires sticking out severed at the bottom. That looks great, and actually this alone is the most well-realized piece of Mechagodzilla 2021 that I own. I don't own anything other than the Playmates Mechagodzilla and the Funko Mechagodzilla, so this is the best Mechagodzilla piece that I own. I have not been able to afford the SH MonsterArts Mechagodzilla 2021, unfortunately. Now let's get into the guy himself. In retrospect, on this very grumpy head, I can kind of sort of see the bruising above the eyebrows and into the face and on the lip a little bit. It's just, it was better to find on that one normal looking head. Now I'm going to try the impossible here, and I'm going to put this head onto the original release of Kong. Because I don't want to have two with the same face. Well, it fit on perfectly, as you'd think it would. Oh, hell yeah. And now you've got Kong, the original. This is the original. But he's got that new angry face. Oh, he looks great. I love it. Oh, he looks so cool. I'm really into it. I like it a lot. Let's give him his axe. Oh, how incredible. Look at this guy. Oh, he looks great. Now let's check out the new one. Now the best part about Kong when you get him out is that he wears a little bib and a little apron. They've got these tabs on the back that I believe you can just rip and it'll tear off, but you can of course just pop the head off and then take the bib off. I think those are supposed to protect him from getting damaged in transport. It's supposed to prevent the plastic from rubbing against itself and scratching away paint, I'm pretty sure. And then I think you can just rip this bib off. Yep, just like that. I think the other Kong had that too. Now an interesting side-by-side detail, and it's kind of hard to see, is that my new angry head, the one that's roaring, is a little different than the original. It's a little wider, as you can see. Like the nose is a little different, the eyes are a little wider. This one actually has more compelling eyes. You can see the actual pupils a little better and they look a little more interesting. This one looks a little smoother, a little less textured, but also wider. Like he's got almost a different face. I actually like the original one better. There was that bug. You saw that thing that flashed across the frame? That's a bug living inside the lens. I'm gonna keep the new one because it's got the cuts and scratches on it. Both feature the articulated tongue. Now, I've already talked about the sculpt of this figure once before, considering that this is a re-release from an SH MonsterArts figure, so I'll keep my thoughts brief, but I'm really, really impressed with it overall. I think it's wonderful. There's great detailing in the feet. They look incredible. You move up from these really well-detailed toes with the toenails into the feet, into the fur, where you've got really well-defined muscle texturing moving all throughout the legs, into the actual torso of Kong. He's got nicely defined abs with a nicely defined belly button. Up through through the chest where he's got the great scars, and then into the faces, which all look great. Across the back, you've got similarly really well-defined muscles. They just move in such a natural way. They look great. I'm really into it. I think that this is a wonderful King Kong sculpt. I think it's just incredible. The fur looks so great. It's got a lot of depth and texture to it. I really love it. Now, I do think that the faces don't look exactly like the Kong from the movie Godzilla vs. Kong. They look generally just like the MonsterVerse King Kong in general. They don't quite capture the same life and magic that the actual design in the movie captures, and I don't know what exactly it is that throws it off. I have seen some custom heads for this guy that really sells the MonsterVerse Kong look. There's just something a little different about these guys where they're a little more stylized than that. Also, again, as I talked about in the last one, I just wish that they had continued the actual chest down onto the next layers, because this Kong, it seems that his fur just starts immediately under his chest and it doesn't go down towards his belly, whereas in the movie, Kong does have a bit more skin showing as you get into the belly. However, it's not as defined as it was in Kong Skull Island. In terms of paint, he's almost exactly the same as the original release. He is a little darker, but just like minuscule. It doesn't even really show up on camera that well, but he is ever so slightly darker than the original release. They've done a really good job with this brown color. It doesn't look as brown as the one in the movie. It's a little more on the grayer side of brown, but it's not like gray like the Playmates ones are. It's still a brown Kong. He still looks like the Kong from Godzilla vs. Kong, and that's what I really like about him. The face is incredibly well done. The eyes look great with the actual pupils, which is something on this scale that's really hard to achieve. There's shadowing inside of things like the nose and the ear. The mouth has a lot of shading to it where you've got the very pink vibrant tongue, but then there is shadowing on like the roof of the mouth and stuff. The inside of the mouth, also just going on paint and sculpt, looks wonderful. Not only is there a great stretch of the lips, but you can see there are teeth in the back that are sculpted and painted. There are individually sculpted teeth up front with the fangs and on the bottom jaw. The top jaw has teeth sculpted into his gums. The whole thing just looks really incredible. What makes this guy different is that this Kong is covered, and they're pretty difficult to see, but in these little tiny cuts and these little bloody marks all over his body, into his back. They go up his back, they're on his back, they're all over the front of him. They're these little tiny pieces of battle damage showing that this Kong has been through one hell of a fight. This Kong is the one who survives the Mechagodzilla battle. So this Kong has already been beaten by Godzilla and done the Mechagodzilla fight, which is why he features these little tiny cuts and scrapes all over him. And actually, it's better than the movie Godzilla vs. Kong, which does not show the battle damage. You don't see the damage on Kong very well. It just doesn't show up in the movie. So it's wonderful that they've added it to this figure. The other big difference, and this is by far the biggest, is that his chest not only features the original 3 scrapes that he got from before Kong Skull Island, now a little more bloody than normal, but it also features the new crisscross scratched patterns that Godzilla etched into his chest at the end of Godzilla vs. Kong. I'm really curious to see if this crisscross pattern carries over into the next movie, or if they're going to do some Kylo Ren-esque redesigns to it to make it look a little cooler, or if it'll just go away because he's a monster and monsters heal. I do think it's going to stick around because Adam Wingard's returning, and it's something that he himself put on Kong's chest, and he likes to follow up on his own ideas, so I'm going to think that we're going to see it continue over into the new movie. I don't actually think it looks as good as the original scratches on Kong's chest, but that's an actual design flaw of the movie. As far as MonsterArts, this is a really wonderfully rendered and well done version of that. The chest scars look great. I'm really into them. They look believably painful and believably like Godzilla could have been the one who left those marks. I just think it's really good stuff. Kong is primarily a righty in the movie, but I gave him the axe in the left hand because he's a monkey, he's ambidextrous. But here he is holding both of his main accessories. He looks so cool, man. This is really great. I'm super happy SH MonsterArts did this. It's very hard for a repaint to impress me just because it's the same figure again. So the accessories really have to sell it, and I think the accessories on this figure have justified its existence in a big way. I think it's very cool. It's a very neat thing for them to have done. In total, I believe there are 30 points of articulation on this Kong, 30 points of articulation, meaning you can get him in basically whatever poses you want. I actually might have lowballed him. There might be a lot more. You can get him in basically whatever poses you want. The only downside to it that I just noticed is the friggin' informational logo on the bottom foot. I don't want to see Legendary Godzilla Toho China. I don't want to see that on the bottom foot. I hate when they add that stuff. At least make it the same color or a similar color to the toy. Don't make it white. But with 30 points of articulation, you can get him in some really wild poses that are really fun and exciting. Like, you can get him to do some really crazy stuff. The Mechagodzilla actually doesn't hang out in his hand terribly well. You have to kind of just keep his hand still in order to keep him to hold that. But you can get him into some really awesome and incredible poses. He can do a lot of really fun stuff. This Kong's good at karate. for sure. He just has the mobility and the range. But it allows you to have him walk around on all fours just like he's an ape. It allows you to get him into those really exciting jump poses where he can come swinging down with the axe. You can do so much stuff with this. I've seen some wonderful toy photography come out of the SH MonsterArts Kong, both releases. I think it's an incredibly articulated figure. It is the best articulated Kong I have ever seen on market, and I think it's great for that. Here Kong is standing next to his original SH MonsterArts counterpart. Now normally I'd move this guy towards the end, but considering I've already had the two of them out together, I'll show them off together now. Here's the two of them together, the original release and the new one. They look great together. What a great duo. These two would kick some ass. I don't think Godzilla would win against two. I think Godzilla would not be able to handle two Kongs. These guys are great. I'm into it. I love it. Next up, I'll make the leap to NECA. Now it's a way bigger scale. They don't look great together. I have shown the two of them off together before. If I were to do a SH MonsterArts versus NECA comparison, I think actually, this is maybe a controversial take, but I think NECA's sculpt is absolutely on par with SH MonsterArts'. They went for very different things, but I think they are on par with each other. The fur on the NECA one just is so well done. It's also really well done on the MonsterArts one. I'm really coming to appreciate the MonsterArts one again holding it, but the fur on them is so well done. The paint on them both is so well done. This guy might have a better paint job than the SH MonsterArts one. That might be a hot take, but I think that NECA's might have a better paint job, but it is like 2.5 inches taller than the SH MonsterArts one, so they have more room to give a better paint job on it. Articulation wise though, SH MonsterArts absolutely blast this guy out of the water. This guy does have really great articulation. He can do some incredible stuff, especially for his price tag, but nothing can really compare to the SH MonsterArts one, and that's what you kind of pay for with SH MonsterArts, is the extra articulation. Here's Kong next to his Playmates Kong Skull Island counterpart. This is Playmates' most accurate Kong Skull Island figure, and actually is probably their most accurate Kong figure in terms of look. The two of them actually look pretty good together. They scale pretty nicely together. This guy does look better than this guy, but that's to be expected with Playmates. You'd hope so. But yeah, they actually look pretty good together. Here's Kong next to his enemy, the Warbat. Now, the Warbat is going to be a little more physically imposing than the SH MonsterArts Kong, who's a little guy. This is one of the smallest SH MonsterArts figures I've seen, and also one of the more lean kaiju figures I own. So the Warbat is going to be a little more physically imposing, and so they do look great together. But again, Kong could wipe the floor with this guy, as we already know. But also in terms of like quality of the figure, this is much better. Here's Kong next to his little Funko self. These are a cute pair. I just wanted to get this guy out so you could see them standing next to each other, just so you could see the size, the difference in approach with these guys, and also because they both are wielding different types of axes that I thought was fun. Speaking of wielding the axe, we've got the Playmates Kong with the axe. Here he is. Now these two are supposed to be the same exact Kong, and you can just see even from way back here, this Kong just blowing the quality out of the water in terms of the richness of the sculpt. Also, it's not that weird Playmates color where it's like sort of brownish, but also very much more gray than the MonsterArts ones are. And then axe quality, like whew, night and day. Clearly this is a children's toy and this isn't, based on the axe alone. But yeah, there they are next to each other. This guy looks a little worse than the Kong 2017 Playmates did, so that's why they don't look as good together. The only Mechagodzilla my Kong can fight is the Playmates Mechagodzilla, and actually they look pretty decent together. This Playmates Mechagodzilla looks pretty decent next to this Kong. I would love to see what this Kong looks like next to the SH MonsterArts Mechagodzilla 2021, but I don't own him. But there they are together. Just look at the difference between the quality of these two figures. This MonsterArts Mechagodzilla's head absolutely is so much better than the Playmates head, as you sure would hope they would be, but that quality difference is insane. It also shows a bit of a different scale, as the MonsterArts one actually is a little larger than the Playmates one. And then to end it all off, here's Godzilla versus his frenemy Kong, the two of them standing off together. The axe now looks actually more imposing than Godzilla himself. This thing looks like it is doing enormous damage colliding with Godzilla. Yeah, Godzilla's not gonna have a fun time with this axe. I think these two are such a great duo. And then actually, Godzilla's claws pretty much line up perfectly, and it'll be a hard thing to show, but they almost line up perfectly with the new scratches on Kong's chest. So the two of them look great together. They go great next to each other. They're very similarly scaled. Of course, Godzilla should be a little bigger, but you can make your Kong hunch. And that's the two of them standing off and fighting in a battle for the ages. That's really cool stuff, man. Overall, I really love the SH MonsterArts Kong. I think that the original release was great. This one has all the same issues as that. It's got the bulky shoulders. It's got that weird neck where you can't really have him look side to side in a satisfying way. The face doesn't look 100% accurate, but it also has all of the advantages. The wonderful articulation, the great detailing, and the muscle patterns in the sculpt. It's got the upgraded scratches all over him, which are so fun. It's got the cool new Godzilla scratches on the chest. The axe is way better. It comes with that wonderful Mechagodzilla head accessory, and it comes with the HEAVs. I think this figure absolutely justifies its existence, and maybe it's just because I'm brainwashed by my love for Kong and Team Kong and all that good stuff, but I'm gonna give this guy a 9 out of 10. I think he's a wonderful release. The only thing I wish they had done differently is I wish they had maybe touched up the faces to make them look a little more accurate. I kind of wish that they had found a way to upgrade the shoulders so that his head could look around a little better, but it seems like a big change for them to make for a repaint. And then those HEAVs, man, I wish that they came with spare parts, because that's so unfortunate that it got lost literally within like 5 minutes. But there you go, a 9 out of 10 for this guy. I really enjoyed him. All right, I want to give a huge thank you to all my patrons over on Patreon. I mean, it's through the support of the Patreon that videos like this can be possible. If you want to support the Patreon, you can use the link in the description below, where you can get early access to content, access to the Discord community, and more. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you guys next time for the next one. D-Man, out. Hey guys, I just wanted to let you guys know, I found it. It's teeny and tiny, and I found it. It was actually not lost as much as it was still in the box. It was still in the box. Not only was it in the box, but it was actually in one of the Kong's hands, one of the hands that I didn't pull out for this video. I pulled out all of the right hands to show you for this video. For some reason, at some point in transport, my little HEAV thruster got lost in the left hand of Kong. So that's where I found it, and I just wanted to let you guys know, if you're missing them out of the box, maybe check. I did look in the box for it. I just didn't think to hold up each hand individually, and when I did, then I found it. All right, the video's over now, so goodbye.